The President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. Before we proceed to counsel for Nuon Chea, the Chamber would like to inform that this document, counsel for Nuon Chea wished to put before the Chamber to impeach the witness, is now ruled by the Chamber that the document is not allowed to be put before this witness, even though the document is in the case file. However, the document is not listed in the proposed list by the parties. Parties are not allowed to raise any document if they are not included in the list, and that the Chamber should have been advised earlier before such a document be put or erased. The President, Judge Lavanya, you may now proceed.
Yes, there might be a problem of translation here. What's important to note here is that this document has never been put before the Chamber, at least as far as we know. So what the Chamber has checked, if this document is on document lists that the parties might have proposed to put before the Chamber, and it appears now that this document has not been proposed to be put before the Chamber. So if Nuon Chea's defense intends to use this document, it must, and I believe counsel knows this perfectly well, must make the request to tender a new document before the Chamber, pursuant to Rule 87.4, I believe, which might show why this document has not been included in the initial list that should have been tendered by all of the parties.
Thank you. The explanation is perfectly clear, Judge Lavanya. It may also be obvious that we don't agree with this. And as far as we are concerned, this is a new development. This is not old jurisprudence. When we were asked to make that list in April 2011, these were not the instructions. This document existed at the time, was already on the case file. We did not put it on the list for the simple reason that we were not required to do so. We're not trying to present new evidence. We're simply using this information to impeach the witness. I also understand that there is some confusion about the translation into Khmer of the word impeach. I use that word to mean test the credibility of the witness. That's all I intend to mean with that particular verb. So when I use the word impeach, I just mean that I want to be able to test the credibility of the witness. We will file a motion on the issue of the documents in relation to the hearing of witnesses, and we may do so in cooperation with the other parties. We will investigate, and we will ask for oral hearings on this particular issue, which we think is very important. But we will come back to this at a later date. I will continue with my questions for this witness. Mr. Witness, I will continue with my questions. Did you recognize the handwriting on the document I just showed you before the interval?
The President, co-prosecutor, you may now proceed.
Mr. President, I understand that you have taken a decision regarding this document, and I see now that Counsel Pessman is referring to this document again when putting his question. All the same rules are applicable to everyone, so I do not believe that this question may be put to the witness. Thank you.
The President, the Chamber has indeed ruled on this. This document is not allowed to be put before this Chamber for putting questions to this witness. And you indicated that you would proceed with your motion concerning the document. So we do not need to go back to the document as it had already been ruled. Could you therefore advise the Chamber how much time would you need to proceed with your questions, because we still have other parties waiting for their turn to put questions to the witness?
Hopefully I'll be able to finish today, depending on the amount of interruptions.
The President, the amount of interruption caused by you or caused by other parties? You may now proceed with your questions. And with regard to the document that has already been ruled on, please be clear that it is not allowed. It has already been ruled.
Mr. Witness, did you know that Kate Chun accompanied Norodom Sihanouk to New York to meet Kurt Waldheim in 1975?
The President, witness, you are now advised not to respond to this question as it is irrelevant.
Can I ask for a clarification? I don't see why this is not relevant. It's an important visit to the Secretary General of the United Nations during the Khmer Rouge regime. And it's also relevant because of Kate Chun's role at B1, which I'm trying to clarify. And it would be a lot easier if I were allowed to use that particular document, but now I have to circumvent that, and it will take more time.
The President, the Chamber has already ruled on that, and that your question is not relevant. Witness is advised not to respond to it. If you have no further questions, the Chamber will proceed to other counsels.
As you know, Mr. President, I do have other questions. I'll continue. Was it, Mr. Witness, was it Kate Chun's task to take notes of important meetings?
Response. I already testified time and again that he was tasked with taking notes. I don't know whether the notes were important or not.
Mr. Witness, I would like to show you another document. A document with number D91/15. I'm asking for permission to show one page of that particular document to this witness.
The President, could you please hold on? Please show the document to the Chamber first to see whether it is put before the chamber or not. As you already been familiar that the chamber has just ruled on a document a moment ago, for the reason that the document you raised is not relevant to the procedures before the chamber, and you said you already were fully aware of what Judge Lavigne stated. So advise the chamber on this document before we proceed to allow you to put it up on the screen, whether this document is already allowed.
It's slightly disconcerting that you seem to assume that this is a document which has not been put before the chamber yet. It's a document which has been discussed at length by the prosecutor. It's D91/15, that's one of this witness's statements, the first annex to this particular statement.
Response. If so, you are allowed to proceed. Court officer is now instructed to put up the document on the screen and hand over the document in hard copy to the witness. And counsel is advised to tell the chamber on the reason for putting the questions concerning this document.
Mr. Witness, I can assume, can't I, that you have seen this organogram or this table before, haven't you?
Response. I had never seen this document before.
It was shown to you on the 11th of December 2007, and it was attached to your statement the next day. And the investigators who interviewed you also wrote your comments on the left, your 9 comments on this organogram. Are you sure it doesn't ring a bell?
Response. I think I have never seen this document, although it appears that I have signed on the document, but I haven't seen it before. I could see writings in English all across the page, but I'm not familiar.
Your Honours, I assume I may continue because he recognises his own handwriting. Just for the record, the witness was shown this document on the 11th of December 2007 in document E3/91. I can also give the ERN numbers if you desire. Otherwise, I will continue. Mr. Witness. Mr. Witness, I invite you to have a look at the document, and can you tell me where Kate Chun is mentioned on this organogram, and whether you think he's put in the right place?
Response. I cannot show you, although my name appears on the pages. I had never been given the hard copy of the documents earlier, and how could I respond to your question?
Mr. Witness, you have signed the document, so you have seen a hard copy. Kate Chun is mentioned in the third row from the right, third person. On the screen you can see with the red box where Kate Chun is mentioned. My question to you is he in the right place? Is it correct to put him in that particular place as a member or as head of the department?
Response. Allow me to say that again. The document before me was not obtained by me or kept at home. I don't know where it is from. The writings, my names appear on the document. However, I am not familiar with this document since I never been made a copy.
Let me continue. I have another question about this document, about another person, Ho Nam Hong. I'm a bit puzzled because he is mentioned twice in this document. On the screen you can see where his name is mentioned. He's mentioned on the right, bottom right, as Grunk ambassador to Cuba, and he is mentioned in the middle of the document as being at or in charge of B32. Can you explain this fact, that his name is mentioned twice?
The President, witness, could you please hold on? Counsel for the civil parties, you may now proceed. Counsel Bek Ong. Thank you, Mr. President, Your Honors. With regard to the presentation of this document, should we check in the first place to see whether the witness has already seen this document before we proceed to questioning, or else? The President, questions have already been put, and witness has indicated that he has never seen the document. However, according to the records of the document, there appear to be his signatures and names, including the investigators and interpreter during the investigation phase. For that reason, the document is regarded as being put before the chamber. If counsel wishes to put questions concerning whether the documents have already been familiar by the witness. So if witness has not seen or no knowledge of the document, then we will consider further. International Co-Prosecutor, you may now proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. It seems to me that the last question that was put by Nunchia's counsel was a bit ambiguous in the sense that we are speaking here about an organization chart that has been provided by the investigators of the OCIJ, and asking him to explain why this person is listed in two different places. And I understood this as being an implication that the witness himself drafted this organization chart, which was not the case. So I think it might be a good idea to reformulate the question without having this implication that the witness may have drafted this organization chart.
The President, thank you. Indeed, this diagram was not authored by the witness, and the language was not the words used by the witness, as it was not in Khmer. And it appears to the chamber that witness only understands some portion of the document, because in his response he says he doesn't understand the area, for example, like point 9, when he indicated that he is familiar with other matters from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on and so forth, but not some certain numbers or area.
Yes, thank you. I'm sorry for the confusion. This is a document we believe was made or drafted by the prosecutor or by a member of the office of the prosecutors, the co-prosecutors, and later used by the investigators during the judicial investigation. Of course, this was not drafted by the witness. He commented on it when shown on the 11th of December 2007. Do I have to repeat my question? Mr. Witness, do you remember my last question, or would you like me to repeat it?
Witness, I don't remember, and I never seen this document. The handwriting is not familiar or never seen to me, both in Khmer and in English. I have obtained some documents, and I remember only the documents I have in my possessions, not others.
But can you explain why Ho Nam Hong is mentioned twice in different positions in this document?
Response: I don't understand.
Was Ho Nam Hong ambassador to Cuba before he was transferred to B1?
Response: so far as I recollect, he was the ambassador to Cuba, but he had been at B1 for a short period of time, but he spent a longer time at Bang Trabag.
Is B32, is that the same as Bang Trabag?
Response: I don't know B32.
And the names numbers B30 and B31. Do you know what those mean?
Response: I don't recollect them.
You told the investigators and later the OCIJ, the investigating judges, more specifically on the 7th of April 2010, that Ho Nam Hong was at Bong Trebek. What was his role there?
Response: I only knew that he was at Bang Trabak. He was sent by Pong to be there.
Was he chairman at B32?
Response: I never remember having heard he became the chairman of a place.
Why was Ho Nam Hong given a house to live in near Independent Monument?
Response: to the best of my knowledge, the situation changed. Vietnamese troops had been nearing. I don't know whether Pong had disappeared already back then. So the Ministry of Foreign Affairs asked Mr. Chiem to bring him to live in a villa near the Independence Monument.
Were all inmates or detainees at Bong Trebek given a house near Independent Monument?
At the time, Bong, Hao Nam Hong, Bong Saran Cha were placed in a villa. Others were prepared to work at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, while others were prepared to teach children at what we call the Soviet school now.
Why was Ho Nam Hong given this preferential treatment?
I did not know about that.
Are you still in contact with him?
As I said, Mr. Chiem took him away. I was not in contact with him. It was Chiem who was. After that, the front people were in contact with him.
I'm talking about now, period after 1979, up till now. Are you still in contact with him now? Have you recently spoken to him?
When you talk about he, are you talking about Mr. Chiem or Mr. Hao Nam Hong?
I've only been talking about Ho Nam Hong.
I never contact him.
Are you still in contact with Kate Chun?
បាទខ្ញុំមិនដែលតាក់ទងតតែសោះ
I never contact him either.
Are you afraid of them?
បាទខ្ញុំអត់ខ្លាចទេ
No, I am not.
Did you know that both Honam Hong and Kate Chun were summoned to testify by the investigating judge, the international investigating judge, as that judge thought that their testimony was important in establishing the truth? Did you know that?
The President, you are not required to answer this question, witness.
Can I ask for a clarification of that decision?
The witness does not have to answer this question because he does not have any position or any role in order to understand the case file. The witness is supposed to answer to question concerning the facts he knew, especially what he knew concerning the indictments, and his role here is a witness.
Mr. President, as you know, we have consistently taken the position that political interference is important and that we should be allowed to investigate political interference in this case. And we will continue to do so. And we believe that this witness may be in the possession of information that could be relevant.
The President, this hearing is not about the political interference into the court. It is about hearing testimony of this witness concerning what he knew, and he experienced. This witness has been informed of his rights concerning giving testimony before this court.
Mr. Witness, do you know why Honam Hong and Kate Chun refused to testify?
President, witness does not need to answer these questions. This question is different from the facts being questions.
Mr. Witness, do you know whether they are afraid to testify?
President, witness shall not answer this question.
Mr. Witness, do you know whether they received instructions from the CPP or anyone else in the government not to testify, not to help this court to establish the truth?
President, the witness does not have to answer this question.
Did Prime Minister Hun Sen tell them not to testify?
The President, yes, National Court lawyer. You may proceed. Civil Party lawyer. Mr. Witness, I am mindful of the time. It is 20 minutes away, and we have another party who needs to ask questions to this witness. I'm not sure whether defense counsel for Mr. Nguyen Chia runs out of questions. Otherwise, the floor should be handed over to the next party. The President's witness does not have to answer the last question asked by
Defense Counsel for Mr. Nuon Chea. The fact that in the question does not concern you. The President. Can Defense Counsel for Mr. Nuon Chea remind the court of the times that you need to put more questions? You are advised to use the time more efficiently. President, how much time did you need, Counsel? Michael Pesmans?
I have one more question. And I think the answer is going to be very short, if there's going to be an answer at all. My last question, Mr. Witness, is it may be obvious that we think that Kate Choon and Ho Nam Hong are very important witnesses. And we think that they should be heard in court. Do you know whether Ho Nam Hong and Kate Choon are willing to testify in this court?
President, witness, you don't have to answer this question. It's not for you to know what they think.
Yeah, I'm sorry there's no answer, but I have no further questions.
The President, thank you. Now the floor is handed over to Defense Counsel for Mr. Kesampon for him to put questions to this witness. The floor is now yours, Counsel. Counsel Gongsamon. Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon, witness. My name is Gongsamon. I have a number of questions for you. And I would like you to answer to my questions to inform the chamber. And as I can see we are running out of time. But you can try your best to answer the questions. And I only need short answers rather than long ones. First of all, I would like to ask for your clarification concerning your role as a bodyguard of your uncle, Pol Pot. Especially, I would like you to clarify concerning the prior 1975 period. Again, I'm talking about prior 1975 period. My question is, you indicated before this court, especially to the question by the prosecution, that Mr. Pol Pot had other bodyguards besides you and a cook. He had two personal bodyguards. Do you know the identities? Or do you still remember the identities of those bodyguards? Response. Early 1975. In early 1975, the place was being prepared. I understood that my wife was a cook there, and there was the wife of Bong Nuon Chea, and one of the bodyguard was Lin, and Mr. Tan was another bodyguard. They were under the supervision of Bang. Question: Do you remember there were any other bodyguards besides Lin and Tan?
មាន 3
Response. There were 3 or 4 bodyguards, but these people all died.
បាទសូមអរគុណ
Council, thank you.
ខ្ញុំបាទសូមសួរលោកតាក់ទងទៅនឹងទីបញ្ជាការដែល
I would like to ask you about the headquarters where Pol Pot works
មុនវាយចូលភ្នំពេញបាយឆ្នាំ
before the falls of Phnom Penh in 1975.
ខ្ញុំបានស្ដាប់ឮលោកបានផ្ដល់សេចក្តីកម្មជូន
I have heard
ព្រះថា
from you when you told the court that
ទីកន្លែងមួយទៅកន្លែងមួយ
that headquarters was on a frequent move,
កន្លែងចល័តទៀត
and you referred to that place as a mobile place.
ជាឲ្យច្បាស់ពីរយៈពេលនៃការតាំង
Now I want you to clarify on this point regarding the locations of this place.
មុនវាយកាន់កាប់ទីក្រុងភ្នំពេញបាន
Before
ប្រើពាក្យថារំដោះភ្នំពេញបានហ្នឹង
the liberation of Phnom Penh,
ទីតាំងប្រមាណដងដែរ
how many times did that office move?
ដូចជា
Response.
2 ឬ 3 ដងតែប៉ុណ្ណោះបាទ
It moved 2 or 3 times.
3 ដងចឹងបាទ
Question. So 2 or 3 times.
វាប្រើពេលដែលនៅធ្វើការនៅទីតាំង
Do you remember
បានដែរឬក៏លោកអាចបញ្ជាក់ថា
how long
ចាប់ពីពេលណាមកដល់ពេលណារហូតដល់
did they work at
1975ពេលរំដោះ17មេសានេះ
at the last place?
លោកសួរទីតាំងចុងក្រោយលោកបាទ
Question. You mean the last
ទីតាំង
the last move?
ប្រហែលជា
Counsel. Yes. Witness.
ឆ្នាំ
As for the last move, it was probably in
70
1972, 1973 or 1974.
យើងចាប់ខ្ញុំសូមបញ្ជាក់ឡើងវិញគឺទីតាំងចុងក្រោយគឺចាប់ផ្ដើម
Counsel, let me clarify this.
1972
So the last move was in 1972, 1973, and 1974?
បាទច្បាស់
Witness.
73
What I am sure is it was in 1973 or 1974.
រយៈពេលប្រហែលខែចុងក្រោយនៃដើមឆ្នាំ1975
Counsel,
នៅក្នុងទីតាំងចុងក្រោយនោះដែរទេ
about a few months before 1975, where was the office?
ចំពោះខ្ញុំណាបាទបាទ
Response.
រហូតដល់75ហើយក៏ខ្ញុំនៅដែរបាទ
I was there and even after 1975.
បាទសូមអរគុណ
Counsel, thank you.
ការបញ្យល់បានទៀតថាហេតុអ្វីបានជាមានការសម្រេចយកទីតាំងចុងក្រោយ
Can you explain to us why the last location was considered the base for the office?
គោលការណ៍គឺឲ្យវាស្រាល
Response.
ហើយស្ងាត់
The principle was that the office was to be in the quiet place and near Phnom Penh.
តាមមានមូល
Counsel.
យោធាអីផ្សេងទៀតទេដែលចាំបាច់សម្រាប់ឲ្យ
Is there any
ទីតាំង
military reason
ជាទីវិជាការនេះត្រូវការស្ថានភាព
why the office has to be in that state?
មួយទៀតគឺ
Response.
ជានៅតំណងដូចជាកតាល
Another reason was that the place was in the center, so it was easy to call upon others to meetings. Council, you indicated in previous hearings that the location selected for the headquarters was in jungle and not in the village. As a result, it was not appropriate to consider that the office was located in a particular village. Can you explain to us why the office was in the jungle? Response: because it was easy for us to keep the secret. Response: what do you mean by that? Witness, allow me to elaborate on this. It does not mean that the people were not aware of the office. The village chief informs their people that the place was not supposed to trespass. The village chiefs did not tell the people that it was on camp, but they informed the people not to go to that place. So this is what I mean by the principle of keeping secret. And when we were in the jungle, we were not supposed to travel freely. Only one person was appointed to, for example, to buy things. Sometimes we had to erase our footprints after we traveled. Council, thank you. Can you tell us about the situation at the place you called headquarters? Response: that headquarters was a hut. When there were guests, for example, Mr. Nguyen Chia, Bong Haim, or Bong Ieng Seri, small huts were established. Those were small huts which can accommodate a person, and there were no walls. Trees were the walls. Councillor, can you tell the court how many huts were there? Response: there were 5, including a kitchen. Council, how about the area surrounding that headquarters? Was it a desert, or were there any bushes? Response: there were bushes, small bushes, in that Kampong Chnang province.
បើសិនជាយើងឈរសម្លឹងមើលនៅក្នុង
Council, if we stood in the hut, was it possible for us to see outside? Response: yes, it is possible. It was possible for us to see outside. Council, how clear could we see the outsides? Response: it's difficult to explain. We could see 30 meters away, for example.
ខ្ញុំសូមឲ្យលោកបញ្ជាក់សារឡើងវិញ
Council, thank you.
ស្ថានភាពរបស់កូននៅលោកបំបញ្ញមិញនេះមានប្រសាសន៍ថា
Can you indicate again about the state of the hut? You mentioned earlier that there were no walls. Can you further describe
តើគេប្រើវាជាជាងឬមួយក៏គ្មានជាងតតែសោះ
the hut?
តែសសយ៉ាងម៉េចបាទ
Were there any walls at all?
បាទមានសសរ
Response. There were pillars. There were roofs
ស្លឹកថ្នោត
made from palm leaves.
គេមានកស៊ូគេមកផ្ទាំង
And when there were rains, we used tent to cover the hut.
បាទសូមអរគុណ
Council, thank you.
អាដំបូលប្រក់ស្លឹកថ្នោត
You mentioned just now that the roofs were made from palm leaves.
ខ្ទមនោះបើយើងនិយាយអំពីសសរពលានធ្វើពីអ្វីដែរគឺ
And talking about the pillars of the hut, what were those pillars made of? Were they made of wood or other things? Response. They were made of wood, small woods,
សៃធ្វើជាដបូល
and we used bamboos
មានឈើធំ
to support the roof,
ស៊ីម៉ងអីទេអត់ទេទេលោក
and there were no bricks or cements.
បាទសូមអរគុណ
Council, thank you.
លោកដឹងថាខ្ទមទាំងអស់នោះគេប្រើប្រាស់សម្រាប់ធ្វើ
Did you know what those huts were used for?
គឺនិយាយខ្ទម
Witness.
នៅខ្ញុំនៅចុងបំផុតនឹង
Are you talking about the hut that I lived?
បាទសូមអរគុណសូមលោករៀបរាប់អំពីការប្រើប្រាស់ខ្ទមទាំងអស់ដែលមាន
Council, could you describe the uses of all huts in the compounds of the headquarters?
គឺខ្ទមនោះសម្រាប់
Response.
កម្មាភិបាល
Those huts were for the cadres,
ម្នាក់ពីរនាក់
for them to rest in,
អត់មានច្រើនអ្នកទេ
for one or two only.
បាទញៀវដែលមកជួនកាលច្រើនអ្នក
As for the guests who came to the place, some of them had to use hammocks.
ទៀតគឺកន្លែងដាក់បាយ
One hut was used as kitchen,
តូចតូចដតីទៀតនឹងចល័ត
and we also had
គ្រាប់
some other
តិចតិចចឹងទៅ
small huts where we stored ammunition.
ម្លាក់គ្រាប់បាយអីមកក៏ខូចអីខូចតាមមួយកន្លែងទៅបានហើយកុំឲ្យខូច
We separated
អ
the ammunition so that if some of it was to be destroyed, only that small amount of the ammunition was to be destroyed.
ថាខ្ទមដែលធំជាងគេបំផុតនោះមានប៉ុណ្ណា
Council, can you inform the court as to the sizes of the hut? What was the biggest size of the hut and what was the smallest size of the hut?
ទៅមិនខ្ទមធំបំផុតមិន
Witness.
ខ្ពស់ពី10ម៉ែត្រ
The biggest size was no longer bigger than a 10 by 10 meter
មកចូល
hut,
សម្រាប់ដល់
and the smallest was the one that can accommodate a person.
បាទសូមអរគុណចុះខ្ទមនោះសង់ឆ្ងាយពីគ្នា
Council, thank you.
ប្រហែលប្រហែលម៉ែត្រដែរ
How far was it between each hut?
ខ្ទមយុទ្ធជននោះ
Witness.
ឆ្ងាយពីខ្ទមអ្នកដឹកនាំ
The huts for the combatants were far away from the huts for the leaders. They were about 30 or 40 meters away from each other.
ដែលមានថាមានការដាក់ឈើស្ដុកណាស្ដុក
Some of those huts were
ស្ដុកហើយគេទៅសោក
built under trees where there were, for example, 2 trees next to each other, and then a hut would be built under those 2 trees.
បាទសូមអរគុណ
Council, thank you.
ខ្ញុំចប់ចំណុចនេះចង់ចូលទៅចំណុចថ្មីប៉ុន្តែអាច
Mr. President, I finish this point, then I will move on to my other next point. President, how much time do you need, Council? Council's mic is not activated.
បាទខ្ញុំជំរាប
Defense Counsel,
យើងត្រូវការពេល
as I informed the court last time, we need 1 hour and 30 minutes, and we have now used 20 minutes, so I probably need another hour. The President, well, you asked for the time, and perhaps you should use this time more efficiently. Your questions should touch upon the substance of the issue, so that you perhaps will need a shorter time. A witness has spent a lot of days at this court, and tomorrow is a holiday. If possible, today's hearing can be extended until 4:30 to accommodate your questions, so that we can conclude the testimony of this witness today. Do you think you can finish your question by 4:30?
Council. Thank you, Mr. President. We are planning to question the witness on 4 main topics. We have already finished 1, 3 more to go, and we have received a letter from senior legal officers that the counsel for Kilsampon may also use the time given on Wednesday to put question to the witness. Is possible? The President, thank you. We have noted that the proceedings to hear the testimonies of the witness cannot be concluded, and the chamber wishes to ask witness to be very patient with us, because we need to put a party need to put question to you for about 1 hour and 10 minutes. For that reason, we would like to ask that you be coming back to the court on Wednesday morning, and we sure that your testimony will be complete before the first adjournment of the morning on Wednesday. And Duty Counsel is also asked to come and assist the witness on that day. The chamber notes that it is now appropriate time for the adjournment. Today's session is adjourned. The next session will be resumed on Wednesday, the 2nd of May, at 9 a.m. Court officer is now instructed to coordinate with the vessel to ensure that the witness can be assisted regarding his travel, and that ensure that he be returned to the courtroom on Wednesday. Security personnel are now instructed to bring all the accused persons back to the detention facility and have them returned to the courtroom on Monday, the 2nd of May 2012 by 9 a.m. The court is adjourned.